Namaste everyone, welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. The ongoing sessions are on Bhagavad Gita, offered by Bindoji from an Advaita perspective. We are currently on chapter 6, room number 10. If you want to access the replays, they are available in Clubhouse. Clubhouse, if you go to the house, you can access them as replays. Or alternatively, you can go to the Advaita Retold YouTube channel shared in the chat, where they are well catalogued and arranged for you to find the talks that you're interested in or follow a series of talks. And so in Advaita Retold channel, you can easily access the earlier sessions prior to Bhagavad Gita, which Bindoji had offered in Clubhouse. Two other links that are shared are repositories in Apple Podcast and Spotify, where you can also listen to the audio format. The last link that is shared is a link to a book that has been penned by Artemisia based on Bindoji's insights into Advaita. And the name of the book is Imaginary Door, which is an excellent companion reading material to understand the Advaita approach, which Bindoji has been offering in Clubhouse. So I've closed the chat and hand raising, which will remain closed when Bindoji is offering the class, after which we'll open the channels for a short time for any clarifications, questions and answers. As always, thank you very much, Bindoji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and welcome to all of you. My invocations. Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purana Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshvam Badarayanam Sutrabhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vivagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Slokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvandi Divyai Stavai Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayandi Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyandi Yam Yogino Yasyandam na vidutsura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Om. In the last class, we saw the example of a lamp in a windless place being referred as an example used by the yogis who are yatachittasya yunjasya yogam atmanaha. One who have, through yoga, the restricted mind has been yunjataha, means have been yoked to the Atman. That completes the steps for the dhyana prayoga. That is the final statement which Krishna makes. That is only time when the yoga or the dhyana process becomes a fructified state of, or rather the culmination. Now Krishna is using the word yoga instead of dhyana in all the places. So don't get confused with the word yoga as that of the Patanjali yoga. Because a lot of people are of the doubt that yoga and dhyana are different. The language of Bhagavad Gita, yoga and dhyana, there is only one. The yoga is the yoking or the abiding in the self. And that is what is being advised from the description of the seat where one should start meditating upon sitting comfortably and calmly by restricting the indriyas, etc. Krishna has been staying stage by stage. And his culmination was that you can know that you have succeeded in your practice of yoga or dhyana, whatever is your favorite way in which looking at it, when you know that your abidance in the Atma will be such a way that you will not even know that you are in Atma abided. Just as a lamp will not be known whether it is burning or not, but for the light, there is no flickering. That is why the nivatastha. Vata means air. Nivatastha means without air. A lamp without air can be mistaken as a artificial one or a model or a picture because there is no flickering. So to know it is a real lamp, we need movement. And it is this movement of the intellect or the antakarana which makes us feel there is multiplicity. The lamp will be moving left, right, or flickering, burning more or burning less. All these are qualities of the lamp. Same way, when the reflection or when the Atma is present in the antakarana, when the antakarana is not abiding in Atma, antakarana will be flickering. And that flickering of the antakarana is the reason why we have the otherness, the multiplicity, and the world of experiential nature. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. But when it becomes abiding in the Atma without wavering, this antakarana and Atma are not two, but one, and it is one because there is only Atma in which the antakarana has become merged with or laya. That's the way in which it is that is what the word used in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also. That merging of the antakarana in the knowledge. The knowledge is not this contextual knowledge or where we have knowledge about something else. When the antakarana merges in the nature of awareness, the antakarana cannot be something separate. The reason being, the awareness which we are familiar with is only the awareness which is functioning through the antakarana. Like the lamp which is illumining itself by the self-effulgence. When it flickers, the shadows and the movements are clear to us. But when it is steady and abiding in itself, even the shadows are not moving. So we do not know whether there is a shadow or not. Same way, when the awareness is one with the Andakarana, there is nothing to be known. Because there are no two. The knowing faculty and the subject and the known, what is to be known, when they become one, how can there be a knowing action taking place? It cannot. This is exactly what Yajnavalkya talks in the Vrihadaranya Upanishad. Itnyadaram arekena vijaniyat. How the knower can be ever known. Because the knower and the known, when it becomes one, the knower and the known, there are no two, then how the knowing action can take place? That is why in the culmination of the Dhyana Prakarana or the Yoga Prakarana, Krishna refines that Yoginaha Yunjataha. The two words are used. The yogi who had now completed his successful meditation, dhyana or yoga, becomes yunjataha. Yunjataha means one who have yoked his yatachitta, his restricted andakarana, atmanaha, in the atma. Now the verses 20th onwards, 20, 21, 22 and 23 is yoga phala description. Yoga phala means the fruits of meditation or the fruits of the yoga. In the 20th verse, Krishna is talking about a cognitive event where the chitta's arrest and the atma's self-recognition, which he indicated in the last line of the previous verse. In the 21st verse, he is referring to the experiential quality, the infinite happiness beyond senses. We are only familiar with happiness as measured by our senses. But there is infinity to the happiness when it is beyond the senses. Because senses being a product within time and space cannot measure which is beyond space and time. And in the 22nd verse, the absolute value of the success of meditation, the incomparability and the stability of the gain of meditation is being referred by Krishna. And in the culmination of the fruits of meditation, Krishna defines what is yoga or dhyana. The soteriological declaration that yoga is dukkha samyoga viyoga. the adhered pain of tormenting is released forever in the process of yoga. The adhering of dukkha or the torments are due to our non-realization of our true nature, Atma. But when we abide through yoga, dhyana, in the Atma, the samyoga of the tormenting, the adhering of the torment becomes viyoga. Krishna uses the word samyoga and viyoga with the word yoga in it, but two different suffixes to define yoga. What is coming and what is going, when both of them are not there, what is left out is the result of yoga. Therefore, the verse starting, 20th verse, is the cognitive foundation. What happens at the level of knowing, at the chitta level? When the chitta comes to rest, that is when the wind comes to rest, Atma sees itself. The lamp is in its full flame. There is no wavering. Then the verses 21 to 23 will unfold what is the knowing of Atma like. That is, Atman sees itself. What it is worth and what it means for the sadhaka in relation to his sufferings. But all of that rests upon the foundational cognitive event which is being referred in the 20th verse. Niriddham chittam uparamate atmana atmanam pasyan atmani tushyati. The restricted, or when this annihilated or subdued or dissolved chitta, the self-recognition of Atman takes place. And in the self-recognition of Atman, the satisfaction within the self or within the Atma, there are three elements of yoga, siddhi, which give the deepest interior expression at the success of yoga. With this preamble for the 4 verses, let us look how Krishna defines the success of yoga. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaiva atmani atmanam pasyan atmani dushyati. Verse number 20. The syntactic reading is like this. Yatra means where. Yoga sevaya niruddham chittam uparamate. The chitta, restrained by the practice of yoga, comes to rest. And cha, yatra, wherein eva atmana atmanam pasyan, seeing the self by the self. Atmani tushyati. One is satisfied within oneself. Tat avastha or tat sthanam yogasya parama avastha. That is the supreme state of yoga. So Krishna defines the supreme state of yoga when the chitta means antakarana is restrained by the practice of yoga. Through the practice of dhyana or yoga, when it comes to rest, restraining means it is not a forceful control, nor closing the eyes and the ears and the sense organs forcefully. Remember, yuktahara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmasu. Krishna has defined it. It is the middle path. It is not a restriction. When the andakarana, the inner being, our mind, intellect, etc., comes to rest in a middle path. This is something very difficult for us to understand, because we have never experienced a true middle path in our life. Krishna is not talking about secluding into the forest and going into a cave and sitting there alone. Nor is he asking us to be indulgent in the sensual engagement with the world of objects. But remaining in the activity, yukta chetasa karmasu, with a restrained sense organs and mind, and in the antakarana, karmasu, in action. That means we need to be active. At the same time, inactive inwardly. That is the middle path, which we have never experienced, nor we have been able to do that or practice it. For example, yesterday when I was doing my mananas, Shravana Mananas, Nidhyasana, this thing, one thought came to my mind, which I am sharing with you all. We never say that the air we breathe is mine, nor the sunlight which is being seen by us as mine, nor the water we drink as mine. Everything what is available in the nature, we never say it is mine. But wherever our sense organs and the intellect has invested itself due to the wrong identification, we claim it as ours. Objects as ours, emotions as ours, feelings as ours, thoughts as ours, everything is ours. This ours or mine terminology is an after effect when our antakarana, the inner instrument, gets invested. We call it as ours. But if we look at that also very minutely, what we claimed as ours was not ours before, and later we are not even aware when it becomes not ours. Think carefully. Everything in the world is like that. The way the statement that this house is mine, we have invested in internally with our andakarana to the space we artificially restricted by using things which are not ours, which are available in the nature as naturally and freely available. The wood, the mud, the brick, the glass, everything is available. We enclosed the space which is not ours and started claiming it as ours. And that is the reason why we call it as the house is mine. Not even a spot of a needle space is actually ours. Everything what we accumulated, they made activities by doing things to enclose the space, and then we call it as my house. So why are we doing that? Because of the investments the andakarana is doing to claim it as ours. Even though andakarana knows it is not ours, the claiming, the moment it takes place, it becomes ours. The moment we are able to understand this process of our andakarana's functioning, we can let go of our feeling of mine, ours, that type of a feeling. There is nothing which you can claim as yours or mine. Not even the body, not even the emotions, feelings and thoughts, because it's all related. What is that you can say it is mine? Even the thoughts are not yours because it is dependent upon some object on which the thought is able to dwell upon. But the object is not ours. The object is a natural thing which is in the world, which was not ours before, is not ours later, but the intervening period we claim it as ours. And then the thoughts are hankering around it, making it as my thoughts. For example, if I take it's my dog, or my wife, or my child, or my house, anything you take for that matter. How can you say it is mine? The dog was born before it was mine. The moment I make it mine, I have thoughts about the dog. And the dog dies or it ran away. The dog is not mine. The thought is also not there. Same is the case with everything in this world. We build upon things which are not ours, and then we have created a samyoga. Samyoga means contact. The same word yoga. We decided to create the contact through the antakarana. But Krishna says that wherein the chitta restrained by practice of yoga comes to rest, means the antakarana comes to rest when it is possible. It can be rest at peace only when it finds its own base, its own equilibrium, or its own natural state. All other time, the antakarana is in agitation, in investment, aggrandizing, accumulation, thinking things which are not ours as ours, developing a ahankara, mamata as mine, it belongs to me, I own that, etc. Krishna says that when seeing the self in the self, this antakarana is not separate from our Atma. Our antakarana itself is Atma. But it is our Atma only when it is in itself. How do you know when it is in itself? That is the state of supreme yoga where one is satisfied within oneself. There is no movement of the antakarana for anything which it sees as something separate from itself. It doesn't know anything other than itself. It doesn't see anything other than itself. All it sees is the self. And what is that self? Jnana Vijnana. Krishna has said earlier that special awareness with which the awareness becomes awareness. Think carefully. The awareness become awareness for us only when there is a content in it, which is seen as separate from it. But when that separatedness dissolves, the self or the awareness becomes self-awareness. That is why jnana becomes vijnana. It is the same thing which Krishna is mentioning here, that when the yatra eva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati, seeing the self in the self, atmana atmanam, Atmani Tushyati. So there are three Atma which is being referred here. But there is no three. There is only one. But for the purpose of explanation, three Atmas are being referred by Krishna. The first Atma is the Andakarana, which is not different from the nature of the awareness of the self. When the Andakarana is aware of itself, not as Andakarana, but as the awareness with which the Andakarana is able to operate. It is the light in which the light is seen. It is that light in which everything is known. The knowing is not an event, but it is an expansion of awareness. But when the expansion of awareness, the word expansion becomes a misnomer, because when awareness is everywhere, where can it expand? You cannot pinpoint one spot where awareness is not there. So when the Andakarana is expanding in awareness, is a usage to shut the Andakarana, its habit of looking for contents in the awareness. That is what is called the restraining of the Andakarana. Having explained the intended meaning of the verse, let me take you through the words and their typical meaning, which is required for you to understand, in the sense that the way the intended meaning was conveyed can be seen in these words when I take you through that. Yatra means where or wherein or in which state, whichever state it is being taught. It is not a state or a condition, but it's a description, but not of a physical place. Uparamate, the word uparamate, ramate, ram means to engage in enjoyment. But when the suffix upa comes before that, uparamate, then atmanepada, the enjoyment ceases. Or when it comes to rest, desist, or coming into rest, when that word, the previous word, when, wherein, or when, what? Chitta, the Andakarana. All the instruments put together is Chitta here. It is not the Chitta alone. Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, everything is put together here. Yatra uparamate Chitta means when the Andakarana ceases or desists or comes to rest, Niruddham. Niruddham means completely restrained. Rud. Ni is the suffix again, means downward or containing. So when fully restrained means fully contained, to indicate that the externality of the andakarana, the outward going nature of the andakarana is reversed. That is the word niruddham means. How? Yoga sevaya. It's a compound word. Through the service of yoga or through the practice of yoga. By cultivating and devoting the technology what has been explained by Krishna, how to do that in the dhyana process or in the yoga process, when the andakarana is restrained from its outward going nature to look inward. Avrita chakshu amrutatvam icchan. And that time what happens? Yatra, the same time he says, yatra cha means and that time. Eva is an emphatic word. Precisely at that moment. That means when the andakarana is precisely turning inward, abandoning its natural potency or tendency to go in looking for otherness, the objects as outside. Atmana is an instrumental word, by the self. The andakarana terminology has now been replaced. When the andakarana is turned inward, the andakarana do not remain as andakarana. It becomes Atma. The I, the aham, or the individuality or the nature in which we identify ourselves. When we are not extrovertedly looking for otherness, the same in aham or the I-ness turned inward when looking for myself. I call that myself as self. The small s becomes a capital S. The self becomes the self. Therefore, Atmana, Atmanam. By the self, the acquisitive self, the object of seeing. Atmani Pashyan. Now the Atmani is a locative self. In the Atman or within Atman. So there are three Atman. And the three Atman are only for the purpose of understanding the process. The Andakarana, the inner instrument, is no more the inner instrument of Manobuddhi Ahankara Chitta of mind. That I, when turned inward, Yoga Sevaya, when it is turned inward, becomes the instrument for me to abide in myself, within myself. So, Atmana, Atmanam, Atmani, Pashyan. Now the word Pashyan is a present participle to indicate seeing, perceiving or directly cognizing. Aparokshanubhuti, Aparokshanubhava. That Pashyan is not a visual seeing. It is a direct cognition. Direct cognition. By the same antakarana, the self in self. See how beautifully Krishna has constructed this one verse as the result of the yoga or the dhyana. And the last word he uses is tushyati. Tushyati means is satisfied, is content, or rejoices, or to be pleased. Because there is nothing to disturb the peace. The peace is disturbed when otherness comes. We knew this in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Idara mantaram kurate atatasya bhayam bhavati. Whenever there is a bit of it, even an iota of dust is separate from us, we have to be afraid of the dust. But here the word tushyati is used not for ramate, not for enjoyment, not for, tasting, seeing, feeling, touching, sensing, by anything through the sense organs. At the moment the tushyati word comes in Sanskrit, it is something which is enjoyed without the sense organs and the mind. So, the verse is a description of the fruits of yoga from within oneself for the person who has done the yoga. Because he has used two clauses, conditions under which it happens. When the antakarana is turned inward, restrained, yoga, through the yoga palat, yoga sevaya. That is the time when the chitta becomes the atma, becomes the instrument, the cause, and the, what you call, substratum, all three in one, and thereby tushyati. So if we look at the construction of this verse, it looks as if it is a practice which is being referred to, which requiring devotion and sustained commitment, etc. Yoga sevaya. But it is not that what is being seen. It is not a casually applicable method, but it is a practice where we sever with our ego individuality to become the whole in oneself. He used the word niruddham, chittam niruddham, this thing. The word niruddham is actually speaking cessation. In the 10th and 12th verse, he used the word yata chitta. Then in the 15th, he used niyata. And the 18th, he used the word niyata, all as yatanam. Yatanam means practice or by means of restriction, controlling, etc. But in this verse, he used the word niruddha, which also means the same, but it is got a totally a different connotation. Technically speaking, it will mean the completely arrested or fully checked. But it indicates cessation of all movements. When it cannot move externally, it is called niruddha. Patanjali uses yoga chittavritti nirodha. That nirodha is the same thing as niruddha here. It is restrained from or governed by the practice of yoga, its external movements or the tendency of the antakarana to move outward. Paranchikani vizaranat swayambhu tasmat paran pasyati nandaratma. Kathopanishad, we studied that. The instruments, including the mind, are turned or tuned by the creation to look outward. But when it is restrained from outward moving, it becomes the completion of the restrainment. And that is the time it is called uparamati, the natural cessation. It comes to rest. The tendency, it is just like that, the water, after having become the river and merged with the ocean, the river do not flow backward again. It has found that the thirst and the flow and the power with which it was rushing through the mountains and the valleys until it reaches the ocean. But having reached the ocean, the river has no flow. It has no thirst to go distances. It becomes satisfied. That type of a satisfaction our antakarana achieves in the yoga. The chitta vritti. The chitta vritti is the vritti of the antakarana. That is restraint. When it happens, second yatra, when Krishna says that, when the antakarana restrains all its vrittis or the outward movement and abides in itself, it becomes the tushyati, means a abidance in happiness. By how? Atmana, instrumental, Atmanam, acquisitive, Atmani, locative. The same Atma becomes the instrument, becomes the cause, and is happening in itself. The instrument of seeing, the pure Atman as the means of Atma recognition, becomes the object of seeing, the Atman being recognized, and locus of satisfaction, and Atman as the field of the tushyati, or the bliss, or ananda. The higher level of Paramatman is not different when it is merged in the Atman itself. But when it is not and turned externally, it becomes you and me. Because we start identifying things which are not ours as ours. The objects which are not ours as ours. But is there anything outside us? When we are the awareness, in our awareness, the awareness which is the nature of the andakarana or the instrument, the mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, all things are known in that. The objects are not outside. The objects appear in awareness. When it appears in awareness, I call it as an object. But it was having awareness and existence, Sat and Chit, even when it was not in my awareness. By becoming an object in my awareness, I claim it as it is an object known to me. These are all the tendencies of the Andakarana. When we understand this nature of awareness functioning, that is the time when the seer, seen, and the locus of seeing, the triality, the triputi, the instrument of seeing, the object of seeing, and the place of satisfaction, dissolves in their apparent bifurcations, dividing nature to become the one and the only one. The Jnana Vijnana Triptatma of the 8th verse, that Jnana, that awareness in the Andakarana becomes the Vijnana of the recognition of Atman, and becomes the Triptatma, becomes the one which is satisfied in that knowledge of, where the distinctions have been dissolved totally. It is the same Atman which is Antakarana. It is the same Atman which is awareness which we are. It is the place where, when we do not have the duality, otherness, where we see the happiness or our true nature of our happiness, not an objective happiness. Tushyati is a word which I told you. Is the recognition or recognizing of one's own nature, or seeing the happiness, or measuring the happiness, or becoming the happiness. Not enjoying through the sense organs and the mind. And it is seeing continuously, because once this aparoksha jnana, the non-mediate recognition takes place, it marks the immediacy and directness of recognition. No inference, no deduction, no mediation, immediate, certain, and self-evident. But it's an ongoing, continuous nature, from where there is no turning backward. Once this recognition takes place, you cannot see anything other than that awareness. You will continue to see the world, but you see the world as awareness. Everything as Atman. See, the moment we use the word Atman, Brahman, or Chaitanya, Chetana, there's all those things. The uneducated mind has conditions to turn it outward into an object. That is why the yoga abhyasa is required. Not the Patanjali yoga, what we are talking about. The dhyana yoga which Krishna has mentioned in this verse, in this chapter. We are not talking about anything about theological. A God or or Brahman, Atman or Krishna, Yeshu, Jesus, or nothing like that. It is talking only about ourselves. The whole experience, the whole world is nothing but us, our own imagination, our own creation. I became the waker and created the waking world. I became a waker in the waking world to experience the waking world. I created the dream world and became a dreamer in the dream world. When I withdrew both of them and remained in rest, I thought I am in deep sleep, or I believed I am in deep sleep. But all the three are nothing but my own awareness. It is not the awareness my alone in the sense that I am Bindu and talking about. It is that one who claimed to be a Bindu in the waker, in the waking experience. What I became in the dream varied every time. But the awareness, which is my true nature, which is the true nature of every object of my waking world, including the dog, the tree, the mountain, the sun, the moon, every one, each one of you. Your awareness, your andakarana is nothing but a awareness in my waking awareness, because in my waking awareness you became an object. Same way in your awareness, I am the speaker who is talking, and your awareness, you are listening, everything is in awareness. So there's full recognition. Everything is awareness. Becomes the fullness itself. Purnam. Resting in Purnam. Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Think about this verse. Do the Shravana again in this verse and remove the tendency of the Andakarana to go outward to look for something. What you are looking outward is there very well within. You projected it outward, you will see them outward. You stop the projection, you see yourself. We'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawada.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. The deep manana on Atma Vichara. I've opened the chat and hand raising if there's any follow-up questions pertaining to the class.
Hi, Bindoji. Namaste.
Hi. Namaste, Jesse. How are you?
I am good. Hello, Pratashi as well, and hi, Revati and all. Oh, it's just so good to be basking in in your teachings and in your voice. I appreciate it. I just have three things. One, thank you, a heartfelt thank you for your continued and consistent teaching that I am really reveling in and enjoying. Two, I have started to teach myself to not say mine or my, even with our children. So that idea, right, of it's not mine. Everything has been gifted to us when we arrive here in this life, right? The earth, all of nature has just been gifted to us. And so I'm learning to not use those personal pronouns, my house, my children, my this, my that. I'm no longer accumulating. So I wanted to just reflect that. And then I just had a funny remembrance when you were talking about contentment. And I almost got kicked out of a very expensive professional management school training because when they asked us, because they were trying to teach us to be like ontologically minded salespeople. And I was just like, well, I'm basically content. And they're like, you can't be content. You have to, you have to be hungry. You have to be dissatisfied. And I was just like, but wait a minute. I can talk myself into being motivated to induce sales or more transactional reality, but on a baseline, I'm contented. And they're like, well, we're probably going to kick you out of this program and not refund your money because you can't be content.
I can imagine that.
I just wanted to tell you that that's a memory that came to me as you were speaking about contentment and the wisdom that comes with, wow, I had a lot of cojones. I had a lot of chutzpah to be able to speak that at an earlier age, that no, contentment abides here. And so anyway, I'm just smiling and thanking you for the teaching and just being with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. In fact, the entire marketing and the commercialization of the world thrives on keeping people hungry for things. Only people are hungry, they can do any marketing, any selling. So they want people to be perpetually hungry and wanting things. Never find happiness within yourself. Your happiness is what I am going to sell you, is their slogan. But they don't know the true happiness lies not outside, well within. Thank you, Jesse, for your sharing your experience. Namaste, Revati.
Uh, um, Manovritti and Chitta Vritti are used alternatively because in 15th verse it's used Niyata Manasa. Here it is Chitta.
Yeah, Manasa, Chitta, Antakarana, it's all one and the same. Different aspects we call it by different names, that's all. But there is only one instrument, which is called the Antakarana. When it is in the, Sankalpa, Vikalpa, we call it as Manas, or the imagination and thing, everything. When it is logical, we call it as Buddhi. When it is egoistic, we call it as Antakarana, Ahankara. And when it is the repository from where our samskaras and our memories come up, we call it as Chitta. But all these things are based in Chitta. Chitta in the sense, not the memories. That is why the word Chitta is being used, Chittam, is because if no memory is there, there is no ego, there is no Sankalpa Vikalpa, no logic. Everything is based on the content in our memory. Therefore, Chitta is to use the word. But Chitta is a repository, other three becomes activities. That's all.
Then Chitta is equal to Antakarana also, I think. when it is
Yeah,
irritating.
Antakarana only, there is only one instrument, no?
Yes. Yes,
It is just like the same lady becomes the mother, the cook, the cleaner of the house, or the work, the earning for the house, or a wife for the husband, mother for the children, sister for the brother, daughter for their parents. Everything one lady is only changing. The name changes. That's all. The functions changes. Same way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Revati. There are 3 more important verses in the same line, which we will be taking up one after the other. So tomorrow we will meet again to continue the discussions.
Yes,
Prakash?
thank you, Binduji. Yes, thank you very much, Binduji. And thank you everyone for attending this session, especially Jesse and Revati who came up and followed up with the discussion. So we meet, for those who are not aware, we meet at 6:30 a.m. IST on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when Binduji will offer us this live classes. Sunday we'll have an open discussion at 8:30 p.m. IST. So if you want to do the Shravana Manana, the replays are available. You can access them in Clubhouse, or you can go to the link shared in the chat. The advisor retold is the one I use very often. And hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash, Jesse, and Revati for coming up. And thank you all for listening. We'll continue this journey tomorrow, same time. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day. Hari Om.
Have a nice day.